Welcome everyone, how good is today? We're gonna have a really short video because there's nothing to really talk about. This is Asus on Mifuyu, Fairytale version, and I've had recently had some units where we just said this unit is a Kimochi unit. If you want to play for this specific Kimochi, in this case the Fire Kimochi, then go ahead. Or if you're just a fan of the character, then yeah, of course, if you're a fan of the character, nothing else matters, just roll for the character. It doesn't really matter that much. But if you're neither a fan of Mifuyu and you don't care about Kimochi, then I can already tell you there's basically no reason to roll for this character. So let's get into it. She's a support type with 2 XLs, 2 blast discs. The discs themselves don't really matter that much because you're not going to be using her discs at all if you can help it. We're gonna see why in a second. So first off, the personal is actually pretty darn important because it's actually a personal that is usable. It's a usable personal. Isn't that great? What it does is it gives 10% flame attack up and 15% blast damage up, and the important part is to allies. There's almost no Memoria in the game that actually buff the entire team or just other characters. Most Memoria in the game really just buff the character that has the Memoria. So any Memoria that buffs other people is already pretty darn fucking good because it gives you access to more buffs than you otherwise would have, especially on supports. Because you always need to worry about supports. What are you actually going to put on supports? Like, you can have disc redraws on supports, that's cool. You can have debuffs and ailments that you put on the enemies, you can put those on supports, for example. But wouldn't it be great if you could have additional buffs from your supports? Like, there's a bunch of, there's like 2 different kinds of Memoria, the Nemu Memoria and the, I think it's the not the Iromato, but the some other Memoria that was from Anniversary that buffed the entire team with Magia damage up, and those 2 were really fucking important because what other way is there of giving a whole lot of Magia damage up to the entire team? In this case, you give a whole bunch of flame attack up and blast damage up to the entire team, meaning that you can actually buff the people that need the buffs, even from other characters. Fucking great. That said, the 10 turn cooldown means you're not going to use this more than once in a Kimochi battle, because it lasts for 3 turns. You get it for 3 of the 6 Kimochi turns, and one of those turns is probably for buffing anyway, so 3 out of 5 damage turns sounds about right. And moving on, the stats don't really matter that much anyway, because she's not going to be either damaging or tanking that much. Like, she's going to be tanking a little bit, but she's tanking on the Kimochi that is forest type. So forest type against fire is not going to do any damage, so she won't really care much. She's not going to die at all from a Kimochi, like, it doesn't matter. So the connect is damage up, flame attribute attack up, so there is actually there is a way in which you would actually use her discs, which if for some reason you had absolutely no other discs to use, and if for some reason for multiple turns you had no other discs to use and you somehow got a connect out of that, then you at least get a connect that is actually kind of good. It gives a whole bunch of damage, a whole bunch of flame attack up. Just pure numbers wise, this is actually insanely good, but because this is the kind of character that doesn't actually want to take any discs, it kind of sucks. So this connect is kind of bad, not because of the effect that it does, but the fact that it's a connect on a character that doesn't want discs. The Magia is the important part, or to be more precise, the doppel. It does damage to all enemies, which doesn't matter that much. It burns all enemies, which, I mean, does increase the damage a little bit, but it only increases the damage against a single enemy tile, and therefore is still not quite as good as the ailments should be, to be honest. But more importantly, it gives flame attack up, it gives blast up, and charge conservation. Now, this basically tells you exactly the kind of team that this needs. It's a flame charge blast team, okay? And where do you play a flame charge blast team? Of course, against the Kimochi. Now, if you say, okay, I don't care about the Kimochi, and I want you to tell me how does this unit perform outside of Kimochi? Well, do you play a flame charge blast setup team in any other content other than the Kimochi? Because if you take this kind of team into, for example, 100 Evils, it's going to perform really fucking terribly. You just take a single Iromato, for example, and is way better than that entire lineup. But even if you didn't roll for Iromato, just take any like Magia doppel-focused lineup, it's probably going to do way better. Any lineup that has like a bunch of doubles together with like at least one AoE heal, for example, AoE barrier. There's been a bunch of units recently that have some really good defensives as well, together with really good damage. You can't really argue that any of these teams, like I'm gonna take a full water team or a full fire team or a full forest team into 100 evils with like buffs, trying to buff that team up. That doesn't work as well as just taking a well balanced light dark doppel team of whatever you can think, whatever you currently have. Just throw any of those in there. They're gonna be way better than any of those teams, especially when you get to nodes, where for example you take your full water team, or in this case rather you take a full fire team, and there's water enemies on the enemy side, and you just go, oh well fuck, I guess we're screwed now. So no, there's no reason to take this kind of unit anywhere other than Kimochi, and she doesn't do shit anywhere outside of Kimochi because she specifically buffs Flame Charge Blast, and you only play that on Kimochi, so it's only good for Kimochi. What does she have on her SE? Well, most of this stuff is pretty darn unimportant. The MP gain up is kind of important. She has two specifically bonus MP gain up nodes in here, together with, and that's kind of the important part, MP up when damage. Now this is kind of the main reason why I said earlier you don't actually kind of want her to get discs. So the kind of strategy that you would play is on Kimochi. By the way, I want to preface this with saying that I'm not someone who plays Kimochi for trying to rank up the damage numbers as high as possible, because I'm not a whale. I'm like a little dolphin, more like a fish. I get the monthly pass. Sometimes I get like paid backs, but that's about it. But what I would assume is what you would do is you would go for Battle 2 and Battle 3 on Kimochi, is what you would have on turn 1, you would or turn 2, doesn't matter, you would use her doppel to buff the entire team for 5 out of the 6 turns, get some charge conservation, and then you would just not give her any discs whatsoever. Maybe if you're already at 20 charge, you give her a single Excel discs, and that's about it. Is a single Excel disc on her good enough to get her to doppel? It could be, but it doesn't have to, because with the Endor Adept you actually get MP up when damaged, and that's kind of why you don't want her to get too many discs, because she doesn't need discs. You get her like a single Excel disc, you get her just damaged, you get her hit, you put her on a T formation in the center, so she gets hit by all the blast discs, and then she gets a bunch of passive MP, and together with like a single XL, she's going to be able to get back to doppel, and there you have it. She's going to be double cycling every 2-3 turns, and she doesn't have to do much, and the entire rest of the team can use charge blasts all over the place, and towards the end you can just not use her doppel and let the charges run out, or have other characters use charge conservation. It's going to be fine. Then you also have, when the battle starts, Flame Blast up and Charge Attack up, also for Flame Charge Blast team. Who could have fucking guessed? And most importantly, actually, the reason why I'm kind of confident that she will be used by whales, the fact that she has Blast Disc damage received up is such a weird fucking effect. Enemies take more damage from Blast Disc, 6%, which 6% sounds like a little low, but as far as I know, this is a completely separate pool of damage modifiers from everything else. So the entire rest of the damage then still gets multiplied by that 1.06 from this effect right here, which is pretty darn good. And it's for 3 turns, nice. And it burns, which at least makes 1 tile from the enemy take more damage, okay. So overall, yeah, this is just a, I keep repeating, it's just a Kimochi unit. If you're a fan of Mifuyu, go ahead, get this unit, otherwise, how fucking cares. Next up, there's still this Memoria, which is also pretty good for Mage strategies, specifically Kimochi, but generally any Mage character is going to like 20% Mage damage up. That's quite a lot of Mage up, but specifically also if you play this on any kind of content, putting a burn on the enemy, and if you use this on a character that hits the enemy weak element, for example, use this on a fire character and the enemy is forest type, then of course with the burn you do bonus damage, and the bonus damage on top of the 20% Mage damage is of course going to be pretty darn fucking good. So overall, pretty darn great on any Mage character, but I can't tell you guys if this is going to be insanely amazing or not, I don't know. One thing to note though is that in about, I don't have a watch. 10 hours from now, the next unit will be announced, and it's like 99.9% sure the next unit is the second half of the Christmas event, and the second half of the Christmas event will focus on the left side of this Memoria, as probably, we don't know for certain, but probably the left side of this Memoria will be the next Christmas unit that will be announced in, I still don't have a watch, 10 hours from when I make this video. So keep that in mind before you decide to roll on Mifuyu. That next unit is going to be announced. Probably, maybe even if when you watch this video, maybe you've already seen the next character. So yeah, keep that in mind. That was that. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.